Hey geeks, welcome to another exciting episode of Rockin the Code World with dotNetDave. I'm David McCarter. I'm glad you're back. I'm back. I've been gone for a while. I was at a conference I'll talk about in a second. But I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad I'm back into warm San Diego weather, and it's a beautiful day outside here in San Diego. If you haven't been here, you should come visit. It's always nice here, most of the time, before global warming. Anyway, my guest today is Olia Gavrysh. She's a product manager at Microsoft, and we're going to be talking about Azure and migrating applications. And so if you have questions, make sure you ask them now, and we'll get them answered as quick as I can during the show. And so let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about really quick is my time at Build Stuff. For the very, very first time, I went to Lithuania, Vilnius, Lithuania, and it was a very long trip to get there. And there's me speaking on the main stage, and my session was on the main stage, which I think is probably the biggest stage I've ever spoken on ever in my career, in almost 30 years of speaking. So I had a wonderful time. I just love that stage so much. It kind of made me feel like a rock star. I had a wonderful time. I met a lot of great speakers. I met some attendees, and I was there over a week. Yeah, about a week, and I got to go see some of the town itself, the old town part of Vilnius. And if you go to my personal blog, you can see the pictures there. And anyway, I had a great time. And if you live in that area, you have a chance to go to Build Stuff, I really, really recommend going. It was a lot of great sessions. I attended probably more sessions at Build Stuff than I have at any other conference. A lot of different kind of sessions, like they even had a guy teaching yoga and mindfulness and things like that. I should have gone to that, but I didn't because I was tired. But yeah, I had a great time. So if you have a chance, go to Build Stuff. It's fun in person. Conferences are always better in person. I want to promote my new book, Surviving the Technical Interview. You all probably know that this is layoff season right now. It's already started happening in the tech world. And so this book is perfect for you if you're worried about getting laid off this month, and brush up on your skills on how to survive the technical interview. Because if you can't get through the technical interview, you're not getting the job. So that's what this book is honed for. And I've worked really hard on it. It's been out for a while now, and I know some people really like it and have gotten a lot of good use out of it. So I hope you go get a copy. All right. I want to bring on Olia. Olia is a senior product manager at Microsoft, working on modernizing .NET applications, migrating to the cloud, and driving .NET desktop platforms as such as WPF and WinForms. WinForms. Olia is a frequent conference speaker focusing on .NET technologies and author of many articles, blog posts, and a book about the .NET desktop. She's originally from Ukraine. You all know that I love the Ukraine. I want to go back really bad, but now she lives in Seattle. So welcome, Olia.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah,
Yeah.
David, don't go there now. If you didn't like
No.
Lithuania, you would not like the weather in Ukraine,
Well,
besides
actually,
other things that are happening. But yeah,
well, yeah, yeah. Well,
summer is beautiful, though.
yeah, when I was there, the one of the conference organizers told me that I should come back in December to see their Christmas decorations,
Yeah.
how they really, well, before the war, how they dress up Lviv, how they do
Yes.
all the
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas decorations there. And so I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to go back in December to see that, right? Because
Hopefully, at
yeah,
some
because we
point, we will be able to again. Yeah.
yeah, because in sunny San Diego, we don't have things, stuff like we don't get snow, and
Yeah.
so I mean, we have Christmas decorations, but it's not like, it's not probably nothing like they do in Lviv, right? So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I remember we used to go when we were students. We would go for Christmas vacation to Lviv and just enjoy all that beauty. And
yeah,
that was amazing.
yeah, and I've been telling everybody on the show, I've been mentioning the war, and you know, and I tell everybody, you know, I'm totally being selfish because I want to go back, you know, because I just loved my 5 days in the Ukraine. You know, I want to go back really bad, and before my career is over, I definitely want to get back there. So, you know, I see every once in a while see some hits, you know, on my website coming from the Ukraine. So hopefully that's a good sign. But you know,
Yeah, it's amazing they still try to keep doing conferences and stay engaged and work,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's hard. No.
Well, you know, even when I was there, you know, the war was, you know, in the east, and I asked
Yeah.
I asked one of the conference organizers, "Are you worried about it?" And he goes, "Well, we already have a plan. You know, if the war starts, we're going to Poland."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and actually in Lithuania, I met a bunch of people from the Ukraine there. It
Yes.
seems like some people, you know, escaped the war and moved to Lithuania for work, and
Yeah,
yeah.
whoever could, they are in Poland, Lithuania, like even Germany. So many countries provided help. And, I was traveling this summer with my friends in Europe. I went to
Mm,
conference and then took a like small detour. And
mm,
I would have my classmates ping me and I'm like, oh, are you in my city? I live here now. Let's meet up. So
yeah,
yeah, all over Europe.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, I really like the Ukraine, and I want the war over so I can go back.
Thank you.
Because I just love Lviv. You know, it's such a beautiful
It's
city,
so beautiful. Yeah.
and I got to, you know, I got the conference. You know, conferences really don't do this, but that conference, they arranged two private tours for me.
Oh,
I
yes.
had my own private tour guide
Wow.
and my own private driver, and
Wow.
the first day we went like an hour and a half or two outside of Lviv, and I toured three castles, you know, built in 11th and
Oh,
12th centuries, and so
nice.
that was awesome because, you know, we don't have castles in America, right? So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was really fun, and then she came back 2 days later and took me on a walking tour of Lviv,
Wow.
and we got to go in the opera house, which is actually closed, and
Mm-hmm.
it was closed to the public, but she knew the manager, so we got to go to the opera house,
Wow.
and we 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 actually got to watch the band practice for the show, that you
Oh,
know,
that's
and
amazing.
yeah, I had a really good time, and luckily everybody that, you know, I'm friends with in Ukraine are safe, and you know, I haven't heard anything bad, you know, with
Let's
them
hope.
or their husbands, but yeah, so.
Yeah. All
Anyway,
right.
I could talk all the time about the Ukraine, but let's talk about some coding. So, what do you want
Yeah.
to talk about first today? About
Yeah,
migrating?
absolutely. My story is it's all together. I want to talk about how you can take your existing applications and modernize them or improve them.
Hmm.
And there are a few ways you can do it with like low hanging fruits or medium hanging fruits because
Mhm.
there's always an option to complete rewrite, which requires a lot of effort. But
And
even
money.
if you're upgrading to the latest .NET, you will already see lots and lots of benefits. So
Yes.
your performance will improve significantly, especially
Yes.
if you're migrating from .NET Framework to .NET 8. Like the amount of performance improvements that .NET team put in that area is insane. Like I
It is.
remember last year there was over 1,000 PRs dedicated to performance in .NET. And like every year, I don't have a graph with me. I should have brought it, but like comparison from framework to .NET Core, then .NET 5, .NET 6, .NET 8, it's growing much faster.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
then
that's the talk I did in Lithuania, was my performance talk, and so, you know,
nice.
I've been pounding the new version, you know, ever since the summer, and I can attest that almost everything is sped up in .NET. You know,
Yeah.
there's a couple slippages, and I wrote an article about that, but most everything is dramatically faster. You know, it
Yeah.
is. You know, I had Stephen Tobe on my show once, and I think it was when .NET 6 came out, and I asked him, I go, what the heck did you guys do? To get all this speed improvements. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like night and day in .NET 6, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's also lots of improvements. So we're making improvements in every area, and BCL, .NET, C Sharp, like to benefit from the latest C Sharp language, which requires so less code, in comparison to what I had to write probably like 13 years ago when I was a developer. It's day and night. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Of course, their requirements to security, accessibility are growing these days, and we're trying to get on the top of that as well. And we're adding lots of improvements in every area. So yeah, basically short message, upgrade to latest.NET. You'll get lots and lots of benefits. And I want to show you how to do it much easier than before. So if you are migrating from, let's say, .NET 6 to .NET 8 or .NET 5 to .NET 8, .NET 7, it's very easy. It's straightforward. Theoretically, you can do it in Visual Studio by just changing the target framework. We are trying to not introduce breaking changes. If we do, we're trying to, it's everything in documentation. So that path is easy. If you're migrating from .NET Framework to the .NET Core family, that's .NET Core, .NET 5, .NET 6, .NET 8, that migration is much harder, right?
Yeah.
Because .NET Framework and .NET Core family are two completely different frameworks. And we, at some point, we rewrote it completely to create .NET Core to allow that performance and security and integration with cloud, with all other platforms. So for that, now, before you had to do a lot of work, now we have tooling. And I want to show you this tool.
I didn't know you had tooling for this.
We do, yes.
Yeah.
This tool is called .NET Upgrade Assistant. And first, let me
I
show
have
you.
heard about that. Yeah, I have heard
Oh,
about
awesome. Okay. Let me show you the website where you can get all the information. And, okay, go away. All right. So the short URL is in your video show description as well, right? It's aka.ms/.NET-UA. That's a short link for that. And once you land here, you'll get all the information about the .NET Upgrade Assistant. We have it in two flavors. It's a Visual Studio extension, and it's also a command line tool, whatever you prefer. I'll show you Visual Studio extension. So here I have a .NET. Let's look at it together. .NET Framework 4.8, and that's a simple web application. It has MVC, and it has some helper like common utility projects. I want to migrate it. Before, I had to do it by hand. Now I can right-click. First, you need to install the extension. So in Extension Manager, you will search for .NET Upgrade Assistant, this guy. Oops, yeah. And once you get it installed, then you can just right-click on your project. Let me right-click on this one. And here you will see this option, Upgrade. So when we go there,
up.
Yeah, there it is. I'm working with different resolution, and I have all those, motions automated. And I'm like, it's higher, it's lower.
Yeah.
So here, this is the first page of the .NET Upgrade Assistant, and it offers you to upgrade project to newer .NET version. There's also an option to upgrade project features, which we just got a request that some people prefer to take it step by step, so that's for them. But for most people, I would recommend going to upgrade.net. This option will do everything for you. And there are a few options how you can upgrade it. Depending on your project, we suggest only what makes sense for you. We have 3 options in general. It's in place. That one just will take your code and upgrade it as is. Then there is an option side by side, which will create a copy of your project and upgrade the copy. And if you're using source control in place is a safe way to do it, but some people still prefer to do side by side. You're also like, sometimes you need buildable thing and you need the other thing. So whatever you prefer. Then there's also option side by side incremental project upgrade. And that one is for web applications and for libraries. Right now I'm on the library. So for libraries, whatever I prefer, because libraries usually come together with web applications.
Right.
If you open WinForms or WPF, you'll see only those two options because incremental is not, it's overkill for those. Let's do this simple one first, and then I'll show you upgrade of a web application. Okay. So in place.
Does this work with both C# and Visual Basic?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Here you can also choose the .NET that you would like to upgrade, and they're little stickers, STS, LTS. So LTS means long-term support. We support this version for 3 years. And every other version of .NET is long-term support version. So .NET 6, right. .NET 8, .NET 10 are supported for 3 years. Here you can see the supported until. That's also, many people are curious, so we put it right there. But every other version, we release standard term support. And that's where the reason why we do that, because we want to get the latest things to you as soon as possible. And we release .NET every year now in November. So every version you will have the latest bits. Every other version, it will be supported for 3 years. But if you want to get the APIs that we just built this year, just upgrade every year. If you prefer less upgrade work, upgrade from LTS to LTS. There's also option, I think my resolution is a little bit, doesn't show me, but if you go down, there will be, oh no, that's why. We have preview versions here as well. But currently, we do not have a preview yet. We just released .NET 8. Right. We don't have a release of .NET 9 preview yet. It's coming somewhere, probably in the new year, early new year. Once we release that, that also will be an option. And some people prefer to upgrade like every time we release a new preview. That's also possible. All right.
So you can use this to migrate from like .NET 7 to .NET 8?
You can use it from migrate to anything higher. You cannot migrate back, but forward to anything. And even if you're on .NET 9 preview 1 and preview 2 is out, you can use it to migrate there. And that is the way I would recommend to do any upgrades. So for example, if you're already on .NET 5.6.7, you can do it also by right-clicking on your project, going to properties, and changing target framework there.
Yeah.
But like, anyways, I think you got where it is. And when you're using Upgrade Assistant, we don't just change the target framework. We're also looking at your code and trying to fix breaking changes. And it's in the work, and every time we introduce a breaking change, the team who is responsible for that breaking change, I talk to them, and we're trying to incorporate that fix into Upgrade Assistant. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, but wherever it's possible, it will do it for you. So you will get much smoother upgrade than just doing it yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So on the next step, there's my app, and I can select or unselect what I want to upgrade. Normally, it selects everything or everything that makes sense, and I'm going to keep it this way. I'm going to click Upgrade Selection. Now there is a progress. It's doing something. It's upgrading, and actually in output, I can open Upgrade Assistant, and I can see what exactly it does. So, yeah.
So it's adding the NuGet packages.
Yeah. So here you can see their green, oh, no, thank you, go away. Green check marks. Some of them are filled, some of them are not. And if it's not filled, that means that this file already was compatible. We didn't do anything. But if it is filled, like this one, it means that Upgrade Assistant made some changes. And as a result, you can see we have 9 succeeded, 0 failed, 2 skipped because it was compatible already. If you have any errors, you'll see it here, and you can open it and you can read the error, and sometimes we'll link it to documentation and explain what went wrong, what you need to fix. If there is some information, it also will be there. For example, if I'm migrating WinForms, we changed the font between .NET Framework and .NET Core family, and just we are letting know the users that now your default font is different and your app will look slightly different. But if you want to go back to previous font, there is an API. You just put it one line for all your application and you go back to previous font. That also will be here. All right, so now my app, common, if I go right click, properties, I will see that it's targeting .NET 8. So there you go, very fast, just a few clicks, no headache for me. I can be as detached from the process and don't care what is happening behind the scenes. I just pointed the tool to the library and got it upgraded. Now, when you have web applications, the difference between ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core is huge, even bigger. Yeah,
it's very different.
And for that one, usually web applications take more time and effort to get upgraded. And developers, we talk to lots of developers out there, and they prefer to take iterational approach where they migrate one class, one view, one controller, then another, then another. Another big thing, important thing for developers was to ensure that my application is still working, because very few companies can allow a shutdown for months, right, when their app is not working. Also, there's usually a team or one dev who is working on upgrade and other people working on the functionality. So for web applications, we built that third option, and we can go to Visual Studio again. I'll show you. It's now I'm gonna work with my MVC project, right click, upgrade. And here I have an option side-by-side incremental project upgrade. So what will happen here? Next step, it offers me new project, or if I already started migration, I can choose existing project. In my case, I'm gonna choose the new one. And I already have that name, so let's make, or let's say demo. I'm gonna choose .NET 8. And this is what the tool will do. It will create a target project. It will create a .NET 8 project and put it next to my .NET Framework project. Then it will create a Europe reverse server, and this new project will be a facade. So my application will still work in production. Every time users are making calls to my app, it will check my new project and see if the route is implemented there. If yes, it will execute the new project. If no, it will forward the call to the old .NET Framework project. And that way, everything works as it is, and I can migrate things one by one until I migrate everything, and then I can get rid of the old project and just have the new project. So that's what's happening right now. It's creating that facade.
How long has this tool been out?
It's been out probably over a year, a little bit over a year. Yeah.
Last year I worked for a company that was towards the end of a 3-year project to migrate their apps to .NET.
Oh my gosh.
And from .NET Framework to .NET, and also lift and shift to the cloud. And
Oh,
it took, like I said, they were still working on it when I was
oh
there. It
my,
was 3 years. And
wow,
yeah,
wow.
and so I bet they could have had this three
Yes.
years, 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, what that company did, that's exactly the tooling that I'm covering today. It's
Yeah,
upgrading to latest.NET and migrating to Azure. And yeah,
yeah,
I wish they had that tooling earlier, but yeah, to make sure everyone who is upgrading now, they know that there is tooling exists free, open, just use it. It will save so much time and effort and gray hair.
yeah,
All right. So once you run that command, you will have that like structure that I described. And here it shows your endpoints. And we can also go to Endpoint Explorer. So on the left side, that's my old app with all the endpoint. On the right side, my new app. So far, I have not implemented anything yet, so it's empty. Here also everything is orange, everything is on the previous version. So what I do now, I can upgrade controller, class, or view. Let's start with controller. Here I'm going to pick the controllers that I have. Any account controller sounds great. Upgrade. It's going to pick up account controller, but also everything this controller depends on. And I
yeah.
can select or unselect things. Usually I trust, so it does intelligent selection, and I trust that. I say upgrade. And the reason why we do it step by step, because I have a simple app, but in real life applications, sometimes you will use APIs that are not available on .NET 8, but there are other substitutions like newer and better APIs, but you have to do some part of the code manually when like it's not one-on-one mapping and we cannot do it automatically. Sometimes you need to make different decisions, like what is better for your app.
Well, my friend Mark asked, are there any known issues? How does it handle APIs? I think you kind of talked about that. It'll redirect the code to the new API, right?
So wherever we can, wherever it's simple and straightforward, we do. But sometimes we leave it up to you to make the decision. And then you will have that error there that you're using something that is not supported. Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of that, I have another tool in mind that I'll show you right after that
Okay.
helps you to analyze your project before you go into migration, because for large applications, sometimes it makes sense, especially, when, for example, my manager says, give me an estimate. How much time will it work? I don't want to approve this work before I know how much effort it takes. So that tool would be great for that. And I'll show you in a minute.
Just don't tell your boss it's quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way you can have an extra day off or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or
It'll
just
take
say,
a week,
I'm
but it
going to do
really
it
took a day.
manually and then use Upgrade Assistant, go on vacation to Lithuania. Yeah.
Come to San Diego where it's warm.
Oh, that would be nice. So yeah, I upgraded controller, and now you can see we have some APIs, some roads implemented in the new controller, and yeah, we have what is left here. So then we do one by one, we upgrade controllers, views, etc., until we got everything done. Of course, I would recommend to test everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, as always. But
Lots of testing.
yes, exactly. So that is the tooling. And I showed you Visual Studio, but we also have CLI. And
Yeah.
for CLI, I'll probably just show you. You can go to that aka.ms/.NET-UA, one word. You'll land up on this side. And here you can go to documentation. It tells you everything like install, okay, how to install VS extension, how to install CLI tool. It is a global tool, so all you need to type, you have to have .NET SDK on your machine. And once you do, you just type .NET tool install G upgrade assistant. We are installing it as global. And if you have some issues, just use that ignore failed sources, because sometimes like NuGet problems, you can fix that this way. Then once you installed it, you just go and use the tool and the command for that. Let me find it so I have a visual thing here. So yeah, command upgrade assistant, upgrade, and then the path to the project, or if you're already in that folder, just the name of the project you want to upgrade. And it's gonna ask you a few questions, like which project do you want to upgrade? If there are many, you choose. Then it's gonna ask you, do you want in-place upgrade or side-by-side project upgrade, same as in Visual Studio? And then it's and also the question, what is the target you want to upgrade to, which .NET? And that way you can do it from CLI. But the cool thing, you can specify all those parameters ahead, and then you can automate a pipeline. So if you have a lot of projects, you want to just write a script and do not interact with it personally, you can do that with CLI. Now,
It looks like you guys have really, your team has really done a good job with this. Microsoft, in the past have done upgrade tools like this, and they've never been that awesome, right? They were also, there was a lot of, manual work you had to do. I mean, it got you, like 80% there, but then you had to do the rest of it yourself. But this looks like it not only takes care of everything, but also I think it's awesome that you guys let people choose what exactly they want to upgrade, and instead of doing the whole thing the whole solution at one time, right? And you're right. Most people will change things one at a time, right? And go through the testing and all that process, and then move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
And so it looks like you guys have done a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and we still have team working and improving this tool. So if you see something is not working for your application, file an issue. It's in Visual Studio, top right corner. File the feedback. This one. Let me show you. Report the problem or suggest a feature. Add their upgrade assistant. That way, it will get routed to me much faster. And let me know what is not working. We probably can get it implemented for you. We read
I want to point out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to point out really quick, everybody, that if you do have an issue or you want a feature added to Visual Studio, use that help link. Use that link because it actually works. For example, just recently this month, or maybe last month, I think. Visual Studio did something that I asked, and what they did was, one of the things I wanted was, I'm really big into XML documentation and all that, and I talk about it a lot, and one of the tags that I really don't see people using too much is the example tag. There's an example tag where you can put in code and show people exactly how to use the function that you wrote, right?
Yeah.
Previous until this month, or till probably the latest release, you couldn't see that in IntelliSense, right? So I submitted a ticket to Microsoft saying, "Can you show the example tag in IntelliSense because it makes sense, to show people how to use the function," and they did it. So. Yay. You're welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Now you can see examples for the one person that actually uses it, me.
I'm sure there is more.
Yeah.
And to tell you how it's happening on our end, we drive our roadmap and agenda by customers' feedback and users, like developers out there. So if there is some feature, and of course resources are tight always, right? We have to prioritize. If there are a lot of people asking for same feature, the chances that we get approval for resources for that is much, much higher. Because then I can bring all this feedback to top management and say like, hey, it's really important. Like, look, I have that customer feedback. But if nobody complains, it's much harder for me to advocate for that change. So please, be vocal. Let us know what you want.
Well, one thing that I do is every time that I do submit like a feature request, is I tweet it to get other people to vote, right? Because I know I can't vote on my own thing, right? So I need other people to vote on it, and it works. It really does work. I've tweeted multiple times that I wish the rest of Microsoft would use the same mechanism that Visual Studio does, because sending stuff to like the Word team just goes into a black hole, if you ask me. I have no idea anything is happening. I don't get a response. I tell them, contact me. They don't contact me, and and the Visual Studio team, they do contact you, right? They ask for more information, or an example or an example project, and so I wish all of Microsoft used the same thing you guys do.
Thank you. Yeah. Another tip, probably, like if you have suggestions for the tooling I present today, just put the name of the tooling in the header. That way it will get routed to me much faster, because we have team that is triaging. And sometimes from the description, it's not easy for them to understand who is the PM we should send it to. So that always helps. And everything that comes to me, I read every single issue. So don't think that you're just posting in a void. There are people who are actually reading all that. All right.
Well,
so the next tool that I already mentioned is for planning your upgrade. And if you have a small app, you can just go ahead and try to upgrade it. But if you have a large, like, enterprise set of applications, this tool will be very handy. It's called .NET Upgrade Planner. The easiest way to get there is to type APIs of .NET, APIs of dot and then net, and then on the top right corner, .NET Upgrade Planner. And then download. This tool is still in beta. It's done by Microsoft team, but they haven't productized it yet, but it's perfectly safe. I promise you, it's not a virus. You can install it. I installed it. Of course, like some antivirus or some security on your machine will ask you a few times, are you completely sure you want this? So say yes. And once you do, you will have it on your machine. And there you can actually let me save this project somewhere. And then, here's mine. And let me open it from scratch so you can see. Okay, no. So I'm gonna do.
While you're doing that, this sounds so interesting. I think I'm gonna go and find an old framework project, and I'm gonna try it.
Try it. Awesome. And give me feedback. Let me know.
I'd like to see how it works on some of the older code that I've had to deal with in the past 10 years, or ever since .NET Core has come out, at least.
Absolutely.
I haven't used the framework forever.
Good for you. You can also use that for upgrade from any version to any version, like .NET 6 to .NET 8, but the challenging part is from framework too, because that's a very hard thing to do. Okay, so once you just run it, there are a few buttons, open project, but that is not your project. It's the project of a .NET Upgrade Planner. So if you have worked already and you saved it, then you can go ahead and open it. Or you can select files, or you can select folder. I'm going to select folder. And then the first time you run it, that's what I was trying to avoid, but I decided to show you anyways. That one takes longer, because what's happening now, it's gonna pull up the latest .NET, all the APIs of .NET. So you get analysis as of like today, what is in .NET today. And then it's gonna look at all your code, and it's gonna verify if what you have right now compatible with the desired framework. And by default, it has the latest .NET 8, but for each you can set desired framework. You can choose whatever you want, wherever you want to upgrade. And also for .NET, you can, so all versions of .NET, and also it's Windows, Android, iOS, or all of the .NET.
That's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the left side, you have assemblies and dependencies. So here is my code. Here's also all the dependencies that I have. And sometimes it's useful, but for my first analysis, I prefer to do that. I prefer to select everything and remove everything that is not related to my code for now. Because the first step I recommend doing is going and upgrading your NuGet packages and ensure, like, for example, log4net. Right now it complains that it might complain something is not supported in log4net for .NET Framework, but there's log4net for .NET 6, and I can upgrade to that NuGet package and everything will be supported. So here's my code, and here's the graph of dependencies for my code specific. So I see that there's eShop Legacy MVC, which depends on eShop Legacy Common. There's also utilities, no dependencies here. And the red color, it indicates that there are some issues. The gray color means that it should be fine to port. Of course, when you do runtime, that is a static analysis, and at runtime there might be some issues, but as for static analysis, it doesn't see any issues in this project, but there are some in those projects. So now I can, and again, we can do a graph double click, probably on the graph before when it has like lots of nodes. If you double click on the node, it will show you dependencies just for that part, which is convenient. In my 3 projects, it doesn't really matter. And on the right side, we can see what are the issues or some information points. Here is all assemblies. I can select assembly. So this one is just for MVC, and I can also filter. So in APIs missing, it's also like grouped by categories. So unresolved references, APIs missing, API is not available on all platforms. Let's look at that one. So API is supported on any platform except browser. All right, so I'm using this API, and if I want to make sure that it's supported everywhere, if I'm using Blazor, I wanted to support it in browser, that will be a problem. But in my case, it's I'm going to run it only on, let's say, Windows and Linux. Then I can set desired platform, and I can say Windows specific here, Windows, Linux, okay. And now I do not have that problem anymore. So, and that's how, if you have large project and large of issues, you can, by issue, I mean like something that you need to pay attention and figure out, is that a problem? How am I going to resolve it? Like, am I going to use a new functionality or just new API? Or sometimes, actually, I heard the feedback, and that's very helpful. People say that, like, oh my God, I was looking at the error, and then I realized there's some dead code that I'm not using. I can safely just remove it. Oh, it's like from previous, I don't know, functionality iteration. So it also helps you to clean up your code a lot. So that's the tool. Yeah.
This sounds so useful. I'm so glad you're on the show because I wasn't aware of how great this was until you were here. And
thank you so much. I'm very happy. I'm very happy it's useful.
But now that you have it done, the next thing you should do is have an upgrade assistant for other programming languages like Node. Because every time I see a job posting, for developers and they're writing their back-end services in Node, I just go, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
You're hurting, your performance sucks because of that, right? You need to go to .NET. So that's what you need to do next is Get
Thank
people
you.
off Node and all that other slow performing
Yeah.
languages and get them onto .NET. That would be,
That's
I
a
think
great
that would be a
idea.
game. That would
Yeah.
be a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. You
Yeah.
have an idea for next year.
Thank you. Awesome. I have work for next year. All right. And now I wanted to tell you about the tooling we have for migrating to Azure, because that's another way to make a lot of improvements to your applications. And I probably can spend an hour to talk about why it's great to migrate from on-premises to cloud. We don't have that time today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just show
And
you how to do that. Yeah,
and
go
and
ahead.
again, this is really useful because, like I said, the company I worked at last year, they were spending this 3-year project just moving to .NET, and then also just lifting and shifting. So they weren't even using the cloud, right? I
Yeah.
mean, not really. They're using virtual machines, but that's, to me, the cloud isn't virtual machines.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's
You
the cloud
want
is
to
the
benefit
service,
from
right?
all
The
the
services
services.
and the security and the logging and all of that stuff that Azure brings, right? And
Yeah.
and that's the cloud, and that's how you get, the more performance gains by using things like Azure functions and queues and notifications and things like that, right? I've at one job, I cut down their processing time from 70 seconds to 200 milliseconds, right?
Wow,
By
amazing.
by just moving,
Yeah.
to the messages and the queuing in the cloud, and that's all I did, and it made a dramatic increase in their performance. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So if you want to move to cloud, and usually how that happens, the decision is made, and then company decide, or like just an application owner decides to move to cloud, and then developer actually has to do that shift. And that's
Right.
where we talked to like lots of companies, and we've heard that that is a bottleneck currently,
Yeah.
because sometimes developers just don't know what will work, what will not work in cloud. How do I do that? How I approach it? Are there something that I need to change in my application to make it work? And they usually just try, it doesn't work in cloud as is. Then it's like lots of time spent investigating, trying to figure out, trying to find documentation from different sources. So we build
Yeah.
a tool.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
learning curve too, right?
Yeah,
If you've
yeah,
never
yeah.
used the cloud, there's
Exactly.
a big learning curve, and so if you have an assistant that can like get you most of the way there, then you learn that way, right? Yeah.
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 Yeah. So we build a tool that will help you assess if your application is compatible with cloud, or if there's something you need to change, and how to be able to run that app in cloud. And also it will draw your attention to things that might work, might not work, just like make those checks and ensure everything, for example, that you're talking to from your application is accessible. Because before it was on your machine, everything was accessible. Now it's in the cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me show you the tool. It's also Visual Studio Extension and CLI tool. We'll start with Visual Studio Extension. It has more like rich interface where developers can interact with it. So I would recommend Visual Studio Extension. But again, if you want to automate something, or if you're just command line kind of guy or girl, CLI tool is there as well. So in extensions, you will search Azure Migrate, this one, Azure Migrate Application and Code Assessment. And once you install that extension, same thing, you can right click on your solution or project, and you will see this option, replatform to Azure. It will not move you to Azure, it will help you and guide you. So some people get afraid, they're like, oh, I press the button and my company gets charged. I want to be in control of every step. Yes, you are in control.
Yeah.
So first option, if you already worked with the tool and you saved the report, you can open that report. If that's the first time when you want new run, you click new report. And here it selects pre-selects the apps that it thinks make sense to move to Azure. So usually web apps, libraries, you can check everything that you want. I'm going to keep it like that. Then there are two options. You can analyze only your source code and settings, your code, or you can also analyze binary dependencies, and you can select everything. So by selecting the second option, it will also look at all your dependencies, so all NuGet packages or all DLLs that you're referencing, and it will analyze that too. And that might be helpful because you will get understanding of if there is something in the library that I use that might not work in Azure, but there's not much you can do. You cannot change the library usually if it's third party. So what I recommend first looking at your code, then you can also generate the report with everything. And there are different approaches. With the first one, you can go to the code and change it and refactor it. I'm going to do that because it will produce less issues and just to fit in the screen. Now the analysis is happening. What is happening? It looks at every line of my code, settings, configurations, everything, and it detects if there's something that will or might be a problem when I move to Azure. And it generates a summary. So it looked at 10 projects, which is, pretty fast for 10 projects. I was very happy with the performance of that tool. Then there's 19 issues, and the issue is the problem or potential problem. And then there are incidents. An incident, it's every time your issue occurs in your code. So same issue, like call into local database can be in many places in my code. Those are incidents. And we provide the estimation of story points. Of course, it would not map to your team's story point, but it's overall like just to provide how much work one class is compared to another class, or one project compared to another project. Then there is a severity. So mandatory, we know for a fact it's gonna not work and you need to fix that. Then optional, that's something that you can leave as is, but if you upgrade that, you will get much better performance or you will save resources that's like to help you really benefit from the cloud. Potential, that's something we don't know, depending on how your application working and like outside things environment. It might be a problem, might not be a problem. That's something that you need to look at. And information, it's something just we want to draw your attention to. Very rare, but sometimes we want to let you know something. On the right side, all those issues are grouped by categories such as local, scale, security, identity, HTTP, etc. And this is the view for everything. Then I can drill down by project and I can see number of issues, incidents, story points for each project. And when I click in the project, I can see the same dashboard, but just for this specific project. And then I can go to aggregated issues. And here are issues across all my projects and their occurrence in my code. So for example, issue cache 1, these are the places where it happens in my code. A useful feature is to go to the code and I jump and I get the line where that issue occurs. And then on the right side, there is some explanation. So it says like your application is using data cache. And some caching solutions will not only work on local machine and then I read that and I assess like, is that an issue or not? Also, I use that mandatory, optional, informational. So mandatory, I need to fix that. And there is also a link to more info that guides you to Microsoft official documentation with the steps how to fix it. Or like if it says like, instead of local authentication, use Key Vault or use this or use that. And then there will be a link to Key Vault where you can go and see how to use that and link for other options. We're trying to give as many options as possible. So not just one thing that we want you to use, but everything that is applicable there, and comparison analysis of like, in this case, this would be better. In that case, this would be better. So we're trying to make developers make their decisions, just helping them to make educated decisions and save the time of them finding that information. We just
Yeah.
put it there. So
Well, yeah, we're going to have to probably leave it there. Is there anything else you want to
no,
finish with
that's
really quick?
actually pretty much it. That is the tool, and
Yeah.
that's all the tooling that I wanted to share today. So yeah, use the
Yeah.
tools, give us feedback. We're still working on them, so let us know if something is not working, or if you want additional functionality. What is important for you? What would you like to see next? Let us know through the Visual Studio feedback channel. And yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see the results.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to testing that and then giving you some feedback if there's issues, which
Awesome.
there
Yeah,
probably
I
will
can't
be,
wait.
because, the one thing that, I can say from upgrading every version of .NET, and well, from Visual Basic to .NET, and then, all the different versions of .NET, is that, it's usually pretty time consuming depending, but
Yeah.
the one thing that I want to say really quick is, if you have proper architecture and proper coding and not a mess of spaghetti code, your upgrade will be a lot better, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
when you have spaghetti code and
Yeah.
it just makes everything so much harder. And that's why,
Yeah.
I harp on, writing code correctly in the beginning, and not do a sloppy job, because it's going to come back and bite you someday, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
absolutely. And
yeah,
also, if you had it, like if you inherited it from like previous years iterations, and you were able to fix it, you have to do that job just once. And
yeah,
upgrading, like on the first upgrade from framework, might be challenging. Then upgrades are like take 5 minutes.
yeah.
So upgrade once and then just skip on latest. It's very easy.
Yeah, but even when I changed from framework, like when I changed my open source libraries to .NET Core, .NET, that wasn't even that hard. I just moved the files over. I changed it to a .NET project, a .NET Core project, and I had to change a couple things, like you were showing the NuGet packages and things like that. But it was relatively easy for libraries like that. Applications are a different story, of course, but.
Yeah.
But again, I code pretty good, I think, and I think that's why my upgrades are, usually pretty simple for my stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I've done it for companies, it's a lot harder. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the last job I had, that's part of what I was doing was migrating them to .NET 7, and that took a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks.
Oh,
I got to let you go, because I know it's late in India, and Simon wants to go to bed, and so I appreciate you being on the show so much and showing us these tools. And even my friend Mark thanked you for a great
yeah.
presentation. So
Thank
I
you,
think,
Mark, for questions. It's always great to have questions. So thanks for being engaged.
well, he lives in San Diego, so that's why he's up. So
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you so much, and I
Thank
hope to have
you.
you on the show again someday.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Great,
Thanks.
thank
Have a
you,
good one. Bye.
thank you. That was a great. I like all my shows, but I really like it when I learn something new and something I can potentially, use at, the next time I'm working for a company, if they're not on, .NET 8. So I'm glad it actually does different .NET versions too, .NET Core versions. So anyway, as always, I hope you will help me help the kids in Delhi, in the Delhi slums in India, by giving your support to the voiceofslum.org. I don't mean support like posting something. I mean like giving them money. And most of us all have the ability to help out. And I've visited you can see the pictures there, the Voice of Slum twice, as you all know, and it's probably my most moving experience being in India. is going there and seeing the kids and singing songs to me and things like that. And they're just wonderful kids, and Dave and Shandy do a wonderful job. And so I hope you will help support them by going to thevoiceofslum.org now. So, and with that, thanks for watching. Next, on December 16th, I have a new guest. I've hung out with them twice now in Denmark and Lithuania, Simon Painter from England. You definitely want to watch that show for sure, because I love his British humor. It's really interesting to listen to, and so I hope you'll come back in 2 weeks and see Simon. As always, please go donate blood. All the blood banks are in a shortage. I donated last week. I'm going to be doing participating in the study I've written about later on this month, and so go give blood. Especially during wintertime because of accidents and things like that. They need more blood. All right. Well, thanks. And, I wanted to ask you all, if you're still watching, I wanted to ask you all a question really quick. And please email me your answer or tweet it to me. Simon kind of wants to shorten the show to like 45 minutes or so. And so I wanted to get you guys' opinion if you want a shorter show. I like an hour, but you all might not. So I want your opinion. So email me or tweet me at Rockin The Code World, and we'll figure it out for next year. Okay. Well, thanks so much, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.